Hi, everyone. It's time for another edition of Fantasy Alarms Sports Talk. I'm your host for today, Jen Piacenti, and I am joined by none other than Ryan Hallam. Ryan, how's it going on this gorgeous Wednesday?
It is a hot one here in New York, Jen, and just like that, the baseball news is hot and heavy. I don't know when things have been this just unsettled on an hour-by-hour basis. It is mind-blowing, to say the least, to try to keep up with everything going on. But at the end of the day, it's just good to have games to watch.
Absolutely, it is. We have so much going on today, guys. We're going to try to hit a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about, obviously, the Marlins, a little bit about that, a little bit about what happened last night in the Dodgers-Astros game. Yes, I'm willing to talk about it. We're going to give you some, hopefully, winning ideas for your DFS plays tonight, maybe even some sports wagers. We're going to talk some waiver wire. We might hit some NFL. Oh, my gosh, we have so much to do. We better start.
Let's do it.
Right now. Okay, so I just realized that it looks like my computer's not charging. There we go. Now we're all good. So, okay, the Miami Marlins. So the newest report is that this actually didn't have to do with the fact that the Miami Marlins are in Miami. It had more to do with the fact that some guys decided to go hang out in town, leave the hotel when they were in Atlanta. So does this change anything for you about how you feel about this season moving forward?
No, I really thought that they're going to be able to hopefully get this under control. I did see it was another player today bringing the total to 18 different folks that tested positive, which is obviously really scary. But, I mean, we've seen a lot of guys who have entered the protocol kind of come out of it pretty quickly, so hopefully not too many of these guys are sick. And, you know, I think they're going to have to put together a pretty ridiculous lineup when they come back on Monday or Tuesday. I think Monday's game was also taken out now. And it's going to be a rush to try to get these games in. Obviously, they're still going to try to play 60 games. You know, the Phillies are also, they've been paused as well for a couple more days. So there's a real monkey wrench in the work, but I was happy to see that MLB pivoted the Yankees to the Orioles. So, like, obviously they're trying to be creative to get all this in. So it's really unfortunate that we couldn't get through 4 days without someone acting like an ass. But hopefully maybe everyone else has learned their lesson now. We can go on with the season.
It is unfortunate because MLB has done thousands of tests, and the only people that have come up with the COVID-19 positive is basically the entire team of the Miami Marlins, which just shows how personal responsibility does go a long way, and they were not personally responsible. And of course, then that put at risk the Phillies, other people that might be sharing their clubhouses that they'd be matching up with. So I am glad that MLB didn't decide to just cancel the season. There was a lot of craziness at the beginning. I think there's a way to address this. The mostly good news is when we're finding out that most of these players, when they have it, for example, Juan Soto, who is released to play again, guys, he possibly could be in the lineup tonight. I wouldn't guarantee that, but you want to check at the last minute. You may be able to get Juan Soto in your lineups tonight. He, of course, will be facing Nate Pearson, a debut I'm really looking forward to for the Jays, but I digress. A lot of these guys haven't gotten really ill, haven't shown a lot of symptoms. That's the good news as far as their health, but it is very serious, obviously, passing this along to other people who wouldn't be as fortunate. So hopefully we can get back on track, back online, and get this going again. Maybe this was a lesson that was good to learn. But the silver lining, of course, is for your DFS plays. Yankees are going to Camden Yards. So let's talk about it. And they're going to Camden Yards with Garrett Cole on the mound. So is there a safer play tonight in all of DFS than stacking Yankees?
No, I've done a few lineups, and someone in the Fantasy Alarm chat room was asking today, are we paying up for pitching? And I can't think of a better pay up than Garrett Cole. And you know I hate the Yankees. And I did the hitting coach today for Fantasy Alarm, and I have Giancarlo Stanton in there, and I have Gleyber Torres in there. Like, it just Asher Wojciechowski just shouldn't be a major league pitcher, in my opinion. And the Yankees are off to a good start. Stanton has obliterated a few baseballs already in just a few days. Gleyber Torres might be the best all-around hitter on the team. And Stanton's 5,800 on DraftKings. I mean, that's going to cost you. But Torres is 5,200. I feel if you can work those three guys in, I gotta feel like you're taking home some money.
And I think you can, because I think you can take Chris Paddock versus the Giants at a much lower price tag, and I think that's the way I would do it. Gleyber Torres, I released something earlier saying basically he is the mayor of Baltimore. He had 7 home runs at Camden Yards last season, 13 total versus Baltimore. For whatever reason, he owns them. He bats really well there. To put that in perspective, Chris Davis had 9 total home runs for the Orioles last year. So we're talking about a serious beast here. You got Gleyber Torres. You got Giancarlo Stanton. I don't know if Sanchez is in the lineup tonight. I think he's not. But if not, obviously that's another strong play. And in order to afford that, you may need to get a less expensive pitcher. And I think Chris Paddock is fairly affordable. I also wouldn't mind trying Dustin May in the Houston Dodgers game. Speaking of the Houston Dodgers game, I like Dodgers tonight. Houston's got somebody on the mound that's a new pitcher. Don't get me wrong, very talented. A fastball that looks like it rises, which is very unique. But he does struggle with command. And so far, have we seen so much struggle with? I mean, the struggle with command this year. And this is a result of these shortened training camps, right? I mean,
Sure.
We have guys that should be able to locate, and they just haven't had the time. And we're seeing injuries. So I'm really liking the Dodgers versus the Astros. Obviously, they have a chip on their shoulder. The pitching depth isn't there. The pitching bullpen isn't there. Even if Christian Javier gives you a good 5-6 innings, the bullpen's just beat up. There's no Ryan Presley. There's no Chris Davinsky. It's just beat up. Literally, they just purchased the contract of Fernando Rodney from the Sugarland Skeeters yesterday. They made a pickup from the Boston Orioles last night for their bullpen. So they're in a little bit of trouble pitching-wise without Justin Verlander. Speaking of the game last night, we'll talk about it. Is Joe Kelly a hero?
I mean, according to most of Twitter, he is. I guess. I mean, I guess it was coming. I wasn't all that impressed with it, to be honest. I think it was stupid. Yeah. And to stick his tongue out at him like a 5-year-old, I thought was really kind of a dumb reaction. The little face was okay, but when you stick your tongue at him, it was kind of like, what are we in 3rd grade? That's your badass move? Like,
flip him
the bird, do something adult. Sticking your tongue out was stupid in my opinion. And then the brawl was dumb. We're doing everything we can to stay away from each other, and you're going to incite something that's going to empty the benches. I know it sounds good, and we all like to see that because we see baseball, but isn't the Marlins situation enough? Do we need more? What if 15 guys tested positive between these two things because of this stupid brawl, and this took out more? Would we all feel great about that then? I'm happy they got it out of the system. I hope we don't see it again, at least in this series. I'm sure a couple other pitchers are going to take their shot at him, but let's be adults.
Oh, we're going to see it again. There's no question about it. And I thank you. I did not think you were going to have this reaction, but Joe Kelly, what he said to Carlos Correa, pardon my language, was nice swing, bitch. And then he stuck his tongue out. So basically he was acting like he was 11. I mean, it was just so pansy to me. Like, if you're going to hit the guy, then just hit the guy and just let it be and walk off like a man. I just hated it. I thought it was stupid. And I get that people want to, have revenge. I get it. Fine. We understand that as Astros fans, but at least do it in a more dominant fashion. And also, hi, Joe Kelly, you were on a team that was also implicated for cheating in 2018. So you weren't even on the I mean, whatever. The whole thing was a mess. And yeah, that brawl was hysterical to me. They all come out and they're kind of angry, but they're also kind of standing back. And Jose Altuve still got his mask on. Was pretty funny, actually. And so the idea that Joe Kelly is a hero because he threw a ball behind Alex Bregman's back, just, I don't know. And by the way, umpires, is Dusty Baker the funniest person ever? I think I'm going to keep a log of Dusty Baker quotes because he's already come up with a few this week, which I won't go into, but hysterical. I do think that you should play a lot of Dodgers tonight. That's just what you got to do.
Yeah, I don't expect Javier to really go too long into the game.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to be getting a lot of that bullpen, and like you said, it's in shambles a little bit. And even Osuna's only been around a few days, so yeah, right. I don't expect a good night for Houston. I don't think Javier is going to go deep into the game. So I think you're going to see at least 5 innings of the bullpen for Houston tonight, at a minimum. I'll be surprised if he goes more than 4.
Yeah, I think so too. So that's another option. We got a lot of options tonight. Another thing I was looking at is, I've noticed that Globe Life Park almost seems to be a pitcher's park. Lance Lynn tonight on the bump versus Madison Bumgarner. There's run total of 7.5. Would you take the over or the under on that, Ryan?
I'm not really loving the Diamondbacks so far. Bumgarner didn't look overly sharp his first time out.
No,
I guess we can chalk that up to maybe to the break. But I think his production has been, kind of waning a little bit as we go. But I saw the Texas's lineup and didn't look overly impressive to me either. So I'm kind of thinking even a 75% Bumgarner might be able to hold that to under 3 or 4 innings. And Lance Lynn pitched way better than I expected him to his first time out. I'm not really a big Lance Lynn believer. So 7.5, I'm kind of thinking under.
I'm not either a Lance Lynn believer, but I'm also thinking under for this game. So that's a fun bet if you guys want to take it over on DraftKings Sportsbook. That's where I found it. Lots of fun bets tonight. Another person that you mentioned in your hitting coach that I really wanted to shed the light on is Mike Trout. Guys, Mike Trout is off to a horrible start. You should drop this guy. He's awful. He's also facing Seattle tonight, and he's Mike Trout.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten off to a great start at all. But like you said, he is Mike Trout. He already did, it was one big game. He did have a home run. It's coming. He's facing another young kid in Justin Dunn for Seattle, who has some good strikeout potential, but his ERA in the minors wasn't very good. Also, gave up a lot of home runs. I think it was like 16 home runs in 15 starts. Something last year in the minors, so he is a little prone to the long ball. Throw it out there with being a young kid going against what is growing to be a legend of Mike Trout. I have a feeling that we might see a little breakout for Trout. It'll cost you for sure, but I think tonight is the night that it pays off.
What about Christian Yelich and Ronald Acuna, also off to sort of slow starts? Do you have any doubts about their ability to produce? I mean, we've been saying that this is a sprint and not a marathon this year, but at the same time, it's still more of a marathon when you're talking about playing a game every day. It's not like NFL where you play a total 16, 17 games. You're playing 60 games. So it's been less than a week. Are you losing faith in Christian Yelich?
No, you can't lose faith. It's a sprint for guys you drafted in the 14th, 15th, 16th round. It is not a sprint for Ronald Acuna or Christian Yelich. Right. I mean, I even said to you the other day, I was like, oh, man, I have a feeling about Acuna today. It's either that or bad gas, and it turned out it must have been bad gas. I think he was 0 for 5 that day. But it's coming. It's coming for these guys. I mean, they're studs. Don't be dumb. I had somebody else ask me in the chat room today, like, losing faith, and I can't remember who it was, but, like, someone really good. I'm like, it's been 5 days. It's an adjustment for everybody. They're coming off a break. They did this weird spring training. They're in games with nobody there. I mean, it's gonna take a little bit of time. Obviously, you can't hold on to Nick Solak if he goes 0 for 20. But the first few rounds, the guys are gonna come around.
Yeah, I agree. So bear that in mind, guys. Your guys that you drafted in the first few rounds, if they're not doing what you wanted, just give them a little time. I was getting a little frustrated with Francisco Lindor, and then he gave me a great day yesterday. So Josh Hader is another one. I'm like, come on, let's get him a save opportunity. But it's coming. You just have to be patient, stick with your guns. You will need to make some quick moves, and some of those moves may involve pitching. We had some really horrible blow-ups last week. Let me ask you, Ryan Hallam, would you drop or bench Lucas Giolito?
No, I'm a big believer, and I think the team is on the rise. I want to chalking that one up to a bad start.
Bad start. And what about Jose Barrios?
I'm certainly not dropping him either. I'm slightly more concerned because he is a little prone to some bad starts, some walks. Over a longer stretch of time, we've seen this with him. But in the long, and this isn't a long haul, but over the season, I still expect him to be good more than bad, a fair percent of the time.
Shohei Ohtani, any fear there?
A little bit. I mean, he didn't even get one out.
I don't like that one. Yeah, I'm with you.
It's when you don't even get an out, that concerns me a little bit, especially considering how the injury concerns he's had his first couple of years here in America. The fact that if you have him as a pitcher and a hitter, he's not hitting the day before or the day after a game, which makes him a 5-day-a-week guy. I don't know if I'm going to drop him. And I did one of these with Adam Ronis a couple weeks ago, and he said, what if the game on Sunday gets rained out? So does he just not pitch for the week? And that's your last day of your matchup? He just completely screwed you. So he is certainly not a guy that I feel really good about this year.
I know some people are really on team Shohei Ohtani because of all he can offer you. I'm the opposite. I think that it can just work against you for the most part. It's not a risk I was ever willing to take. But yeah, he did not look good. He was, however, the first ever ghost runner, which is will go down in the record books last week in a tie game. So, okay.
Yeah,
now
he was in a sweatshirt and forgot that he had to go out and do it.
Yeah, because it's just so weird. Okay, there are some pitchers, though, that are major injury concerns that we do need to talk about. The most notable, of course, is Justin Verlander, which we referred to earlier. We got Justin Verlander, Steven Strasburg with a nerve issue in his hand. Corey Kluber's pretty much shut down, I believe, for at least a month. We got big names here, guys. Clayton Kershaw. Also, they say he may start as soon as Friday, but Alex Wood's now on the IL, But it's just a mess, guys, because they didn't have this time in camp, and that's why pitchers are going to struggle, and you can't freak out. But we do need to make some changes. So do you have any guys that you may be targeting on the waiver wire as short-term plugs for these aces that you're probably not dropping quite yet, but you need to fill in?
I mean, I've got all prospects in mind. All these young kids that are coming up. We spoke about a lot. Nate Pearson, who's debuting today. I can't wait to see him. He looked great in summer camp. He has a great minor league career. I think he's the best pitcher in Toronto right now. So it's just a matter of if it comes to fruition. We talked about Javier. I don't expect him to go deep tonight, but he's going to keep the rotation spot. The kid's got electric stuff. Struck out everybody in the minors. So I think he's somebody who, he's probably not going to help you tonight, but again, going forward, he definitely can. I'm interested I talked about Justin Dunn before. It's do you want to keep getting these old retread guys, or do you want to try to come up with somebody new? He's definitely has a lot of potential. You talked about Dustin May with the injuries in the Dodgers. He's certainly going to to hold the spot. He wasn't great his first time out either, but that was also an emergency. You didn't know until right before that he was going to start. And last is Spencer Howard, the Phillies' top prospect. He's set to pitch, I think, Friday.
That's the rumor. I think that's not confirmed, but yeah, Spencer Howard is someone to keep an eye on. Another one I like is Brady Singer. He had a fantastic debut last week for the Royals. Dylan Bundy actually looked good. Tyler Chatwood. There are a few guys out there, like we're telling you, please don't go just dropping don't go drop Max Scherzer because he had a high ERA last week, right? Don't freak out too much. Don't drop Giolito. Stick with these guys a little bit. But you do want to kind of shore up your bench. And a lot of you have extra IL spots because of COVID-19, and you can use them. Please exploit them. Use them. If you have Ryan Presley and he's on the injury list, it's technically supposed to be for COVID-19. Move him there. Pick up another reliever. So Seth Lugo, someone, you guys, if you don't have Seth Lugo, if he's available, please go get him. He got a 4-out save the other night for the Mets. He got a win for me last week. I think I got him in my drafts for like $3. You just got to be really smart. Another thing, what about that closer situation in Chicago? Kimbrel absolutely blowing up the other night. He was blowing up all last year, so I'm not sure why we should be surprised, but what are you doing for insurance there? Between that and Ken Giles being out, we've already got closers in question.
There's so many. It's such a disaster. Like I said, I have the bullpen article to do for Fantasy Alarm tomorrow, and it's going to be probably this long because it's just everything's going on. And even go to Tampa, where we didn't know that who exactly was going to be the closer. We had our guess, but no one had Oliver Drake getting the first 2 saves of the year. I'm not 100% sure that's going to keep going. Probably not. So I'm not saying go and run to the waiver wire for Oliver Drake. Anthony Bass has been said to be the closer for the Blue Jays while Giles is out. Picked up a save. Looks okay. The Pirates, their first 2 guys are out. Nick Birdie looks like the guy, in line for Pittsburgh. Not going to get you a lot of saves, but, he's got some good stuff, good strikeout numbers. The Mariners, we had Matt McGill was on everybody's list all off season, and then Trevor Williams comes in and get the save. So there's so many messes out there. Keep an eye on Rowan Wick for the Cubs for the next time that Craig Kimbrell explodes, because it's going to happen again. And I really don't know how much longer he's going to hold on to that job. So if you have Craig Kimbrell, I would, not saying drop him, but you gotta get yourself some insurance somewhere.
Yeah, I agree about Rowan Wick. I actually have him in a league that I got him assuming the later rounds of a draft back in March, assuming Craig Kimbrell was not going to keep this job.
And
I
he
just
didn't
think
disappoint.
and he did not disappoint. But you should also maybe keep an eye on Jeremy Jeffress. Yeah. The other night, I think they would have given Wick the save opportunity, but they'd already used him in that game, so they couldn't. So it'll be interesting to see if it'll be Wick or Jefferson. Might be a committee, but I think both those guys are basically free. If you hurry and you go pick them up, it could be getting too late already. So don't wait. Put in your fab claims. By the way, I hope you guys are running fab at least twice a week. And I'm in one league, Ryan. I have to lament for just a second. I'm in a league where the first week was 11 days.
Damn.
So freaking frustrating in COVID-19. And I'm an idiot. And I just assumed the first week, this is my fault. You guys don't make this mistake, because I will lose this league because of this mistake I made. I assumed it was Thursday through Sunday and I would get to start again. So I did not start Tyler Glasnow.
Hey.
Okay? Because he wasn't going to be. And I'm in trouble. I'm in big trouble now. I'm missing 2 starts from Glasnow. And his last one was fantastic. So don't make that mistake. Also, if you have any control over first weeks in your leagues ever being long, I'm never a fan of that. I always like the short and the long. I don't like when you have a weekly lineup block for it to lock for more than a week. Weekly lineup blocks are hard enough. But anyway, letting it go. I don't think you can change your rules in the middle of the season, but I hope that most of your leagues are set up for at least twice a week waiver wire, and hopefully daily lineup changes as well. But anyway, it's all fun. Let's talk a little NFL. So I want to ask you this. Last week, this rumor went around, or yesterday, this rumor went around that Nick Foles was opting out. Now, all of a sudden, everyone's freaking out. I got to get Mitch Trubisky. Meanwhile, at the same time, Nagy was quoted yesterday, I believe, as saying, yeah, Foles is at a disadvantage because we don't have the longer training camp. I know for a long time, a lot of people have believed it's going to be Nick Foles. How are you feeling about the QB situation in Chicago?
I don't feel good about it either way, to be honest with you. Right. I don't think either one is someone that you're overly warm and fuzzy about. Foles lost his job last year. I don't know why all of a sudden we think he's going to come in this year and just be awesome. So I don't think it's great at all. I just think it's just lucky that Allen Robinson is so good that it doesn't really matter who his quarterback is. And Trubisky, he's not good, but he's not the worst guy in the world. I don't think if he wins the job or he has a job, that just makes his players unusable. He's very unpopular, especially on Twitter. I know he's not the most accurate guy in the world or the best quarterback, but I think he's trashed a little bit more than he deserves.
But one thing I want to ask, now that we had this rumor about Nick Foles, is it time to go ahead and stock up on backup quarterbacks in Superflex leagues, especially in Dynasty? Like, should we all be going out and getting Andy Dalton and Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky and, should we be getting these backup guys?
We saw a rash of opt-outs yesterday. The Patriots, of course, the loser of the whole thing with 6 guys opting out. And then you have the people on Twitter joking, oh, well, it's because they don't want to win this year because it's going to be a weird year anyway, and Belichick told them to opt out, like all this wild stuff. But I kind of feel like that's going to be – I'm not saying no one else is going to opt out, but I feel like that was the big wave. They have until August 3rd to opt out, so that's 5 more days to make the decision. I kind of feel like the guys who absolutely were going to, like a Marquise Goodwin, with family issues. The Patriots, the guy had melanoma. His name is escaping me at the moment. But most of the high-risk guys, I feel like knew right away they weren't going to play. I really don't feel like there's going to be a huge rash more coming. I could completely be wrong. I'm sure a few more will trickle in, maybe as many as 10 or 12. But I think we hit the big wave yesterday.
I hope you're right.
I do
but
too.
I think it's going to be really interesting. What we haven't seen is a lot of the skills positions players. That's kind of an offensive term to you guys that are amazing that play defensive. But, we saw Funchess and Marquise Goodwin. But I don't think anybody had them really high on their board. They were dart throwers at best. But if we were to see someone like, say, Christian McCaffrey suddenly say he doesn't want to play, or Lamar Jackson say he doesn't want to play, do you think that would basically just start a ripple effect and the whole NFL would go down? Or do you think that would just be like, we'd roll with that?
No, it's the same thing with Mike Trout. I mean, I think everyone feels like Mike Trout might not come back or like it was a lot of rumors with him right until the season started when he came out and said, hey, I'm playing. So it wasn't like, people were watching to see what Trout did to decide what they did. I think all these guys want to play. I really do feel that for the most part. I feel like even the guys who opted out, they did some big dramatic thing on social media, like, oh, this is a really hard decision, but, if I have cancer or my child has something wrong with him or there's a baby on the way. Like, I don't feel like nobody was like, peace out. They made kind of a big deal about it. So, no, I think everyone wants to play. And I think the opting out is a difficult decision for him. So I don't expect a rash, and I don't think that a star would cause more people to change their mind.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Do keep your eyes on the opt-out tracker. As Ryan mentioned, there are 5 more days. So hopefully you don't have too many drafts already in the books, because even small things might change how you would draft. Good news for you, Ryan. Raheem Mostert staying in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's another rumor that Twitter freaked out about, was he asked for a trade during, some somewhat difficult contract negotiations. People act like that was the first time that ever happened in creation, and we're finding him a new home and elevating Jerick McKinnon. And the guy's just looking for more money, and they're not giving it to him fast enough. So this is a negotiating ploy. I felt it was kind of easy. Like, he had 10 good games on a team that he started the year as a special teamer at. Like, who's going to pay big bucks for, who's going to trade assets away and then have to give him more money for a guy who doesn't have a full season under his belt? So I always felt like this was coming. I'm very happy to see it. He's a nice running back. He seems like a great guy, a great teammate. I love to keep the continuity going from last year. And I think he's going to have a really good season. I've drafted him a bunch of times already, and I'm happy he stayed put, because I didn't see him going anywhere else and getting the kind of workload that he will get for the 49ers.
Yeah. Also, good news. It looks like Dalvin Cook did report to camp. Any concern right now about Mixon, Cook, Kamara, any of those guys?
Not really. And I think the reason he did report and these guys aren't holding out is the last collective bargaining agreement really laid the screws to these guys for holding out. Like, there's huge fines per day for not coming to camp for a contract holdout. So, we talked a lot about the Cook news when it broke a couple months ago. Most of us kind of felt that it wasn't going to be a big deal, and here we come to camp, and there he is. It's just, I feel like a lot of the guys, like, look at Melvin Gordon, didn't get the contract he wanted. He didn't get the contract he wanted from the Broncos, and now he's in a timeshare. Like, it didn't work out for Melvin Gordon at all. Obviously, Zeke Elliott got paid. He's an elite guy. He's gonna get paid. We like Tony Pollard, but let's not act like there's a comparable guy behind him. So in the right situations, it can work out. But the NFL with unguaranteed contracts, and especially running backs that you can kind of churn out of college, I don't really feel like it's going to work out for a lot of these guys.
All right. So Dalvin Cook is at camp. No worries there. Don't freak out yet, guys, about the opt-out. Let's just calm down. Don't be making early moves thinking you're going to anticipate it, because you just can't. Wait till all the news is out. I hope that not too many of you are doing drafts right now. Obviously, the safest thing to do, as we learned from the MLB season, is put your fantasy football draft as close as possible to the start of the season. That gives everybody the most information available and allows you to assemble the best team. Of course, we're going to have these obstacles. I mean, who thought on day one we were going to be without Juan Soto? I mean, who thought we were going to be without the entire Miami Marlins, potentially? Now, obviously, probably a lot of you didn't put a lot of stock in the Miami Marlins, but maybe VR and Alcantara, that's about it. So it's probably not the worst thing ever, but imagine if that had happened to the entire New York Yankees team. That would be pretty devastating. So wait as long as you can to do your drafts. Guys, you got to go right now, because you got to go to DraftKings. You got to build a lineup. You got to set your lineups for tonight. You got to make sure you see the batting order, make some smart decisions. Check out our DFS lineup optimizer on Fantasy Alarm. It's new, it's improved, it's awesome. People have been cashing out big time. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. Ryan Hallam has an awesome hitting coach article today. Do not miss it. Go set your lineups. Thank you for being with me today, Ryan.
Oh, anytime. Well, let's do it again on Friday.
Let's do it on Friday. All right. We'll see you guys on Friday.